Hi everybody, my name is Susie Cox. I'm an associate professor over in the School of Education, and specifically I teach educational psychology and sometimes the technology integration class for secondary education. So all of my students are going to be junior high or high school teachers. So I've got a bit of a unique population perhaps compared to what some of you might be working with in your own classes. But I'm really passionate about service learning as a pedagogy, not just as an add-on or a project that we do in class. But I really honestly believe that my students learn better and understand the concepts more fully and are able to apply them when they're doing their service learning. So just a little background on the class that I teach. Mostly I teach this educational psychology class, and it's an intense class, a rigorous class that's full of theories about how to motivate kids and how cognition, how thinking develops over the lifespan, and how students learn best and how that translates into instructional strategy. Now, a lot of my class is pretty abstract, kind of pie-in-the-sky theory kind of stuff. And that can be a major problem for a lot of my students. If they don't see the practical applications of my subject and of the concepts that we're learning in class, then it's not going to be beneficial to them as a teacher. So I started doing service learning several years ago. I don't even know how many years ago now, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's really revolutionized the way that my students perceive my content areas. So, the basic gist of it is my students go out, they spend 20 hours volunteering as an aide in a grade 7 through 12 classroom. So somewhere in a junior high or a high school. They find their own placements. I've done that for a few reasons. I want them to be able to find something that's convenient for them, that's kind of close to where they live or whatever. They can work with schools that they're interested in working for later to start making some connections, or they can work with people that they know, where they went to school or whatever it may be. So I decided to let them come up with their own. Since we're working with schools, it's not too hard to go out and find a placement. So they spend 20 hours across the semester volunteering in that class. They can do anything for the teacher. They can collate and staple. They can help students with seat work, whatever it may be. And then at the end of that experience, they are supposed to also teach a lesson in the class. So there's a little bit of reciprocity there. So they can teach just a brief, 20-minute lesson, or they'll teach all day, just depending on what the teacher wants them to do and the arrangement that they've set up. So the biggest change that I made to my course because of that is I designed an assignment that wraps around that and it involves that assignment throughout the semester. So as we learn about these different theories about motivation, about cognitive and social and moral development and things like that, my students have guiding questions that they're supposed to respond to. And this is actually a key assignment. It goes into their senior portfolio. So it's become kind of a big deal, a big kind of thing. But, about once a week, they respond to one of these questions fairly in depth about how what we're learning about in class right then is being seen or not seen in the class in which they're observing. And they have to use the vocabulary from the theory, and they have to reference the textbook and everything. So each one of these is like a little mini research paper, basically, that they have to complete. And then they also then take what we're learning in class and apply it in the lesson that they teach, and they tell me about that in a paper as well, and it all comes together in this kind of 5 to 10 page paper that they end up writing, answering all of these questions and then talking about their teaching experience. So that's a big change that I've made, is we have this big assignment that they do. I've really woven it throughout the class, so I'm telling them each week, hey, this is the question you should be answering as you're doing your field work this week. And it's really changed a lot of what we're doing. So I see them starting to apply the concepts, to understand what they look like in practice. They struggle with that still, and it's something that we talk about. But what I like as far as how my role as a teacher has changed is that I'm not the sole possessor of this knowledge anymore. I mean, the minute they get some of the vocab and they're able to get out into their classes and see what's going on, they're able to then come to class and start sharing stories of what they've seen and say, oh yeah, I know what that looks like now. Let me share with the class this experience I've had. So it's allowed them to kind of step up and be co-teachers with me to some extent, which I love. I'm a big fan of student-centered pedagogies, service learning, of course, being one of those. So I think my greatest concern when I started teaching service learning, doing this for the first time, was simply the presentation of it to the students. I almost presented it kind of apologetically, like, I know you guys are so busy, I'm so sorry, but I think you should do this. And so I got some kickback initially, you know, from students saying, hey, I work full time, I can't possibly do this. And I've really learned over the years how to frame it better, I think. So this semester, I mean, I stepped in the first day of class and it was basically, I'm so excited for you guys to get a chance to go out into the schools to see this stuff in action. And hey, I want you to get out there and see what it's like to be a teacher. And maybe you're going to come back at the end of the semester and say, wow, I don't want to do this. I don't like teenagers. Or maybe you're going to come back, which most of them do, and say, yes, this is my passion. I love this. I can't wait to have my own class. So I present it in an entirely different way, and I think that would be my biggest recommendation to you, is to embrace it as a pedagogy. Don't think of it as an extra or an add-on. I mean, make the changes that are necessary to make to your class what's not extra, but that it becomes something pivotal and fundamental in your class, and then present it as such. Say, you know, this is the way to learn my content and to learn what you need to and get out of it what you need to from this class. So that's why I'm having you do the experience. This is why it's so important. Embrace it, love it, go do it. You know, so that, I think that would be my biggest recommendation to you as far as starting doing service learning in your class, is find a project that meets your objectives, that serves a purpose, and that's pedagogically sound, and then present it as the best thing ever. Don't be apologetic about it or anything like that. So let me check the questions John gave me really fast and see if there's anything else. No, I think that'll do it. So please feel free. John has my contact info, so if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to go teach class now. So have fun today and throughout your fellowship, and I look forward to seeing you as service learning colleagues in the future. Thanks, guys.